day today, dog. Offense, great drive.
Go!
He's up. 1, 2, 3.
Welcome to Training Camp Live, presented by Atlantic Health System.
Training camp officially 1 week underway. 1 week ago today, the New York Jets opened their training camp. Practice a little different now as the New York Jets are gearing up for their third practice with pads on. Here we are on the patio. Ethan Greenberg, Eric Allen. We'll hear from Caroline Hendershot momentarily. Feels like another scorcher in Florham Park today, EA.
It's going to be a hot one, but I'll tell you what, Zach Wilson said he deletes all his social media applications from his phone during this season because he wants to limit the voices. I don't. I want to hear from everybody, and I'll tell you what, from the sounds of it out there, the reception on social media is Jets Nation is really excited about the 2022 version of the green and white.
I think you definitely get that vibe. The excitement around this team is palpable, and again, we'll see what kind of turnout is at MetLife Stadium for the first time with this new team Saturday night. We'll talk about the green and white practice in a little bit, but this is the third consecutive day that the Jets are practicing with pads on. They started Monday after a 4-day acclimation period. What kind of intensity have you specifically seen these past 2 days, and what are you expecting today?
I thought it was interesting what Robert Saleh said following practice on Tuesday, that we hit a little bit of a lull out there, but you have to work your way through that. A week into camp, second consecutive day of pads, and like you said, the temperatures, it's not oppressive, but darn, it is hot. You're talking about in the high 90s. Right now it's probably in the 80s, but it's going to be a hot one today, and you got the pads on. You're you're lining up against the same guys day after day, so you have to work your way through that. So when it comes to the fourth quarter in October, this put you in position to win.
Also, I'm sure that the players are excited that they don't have practice tomorrow. Temperatures expected to be close to 100. I'm very thankful that there's no practice tomorrow because we'll be indoors, I would hope, for most of Thursday.
You might be at the pool, Greens.
If I had a pool, I would definitely be in the pool. So here's the thing. Over the past 2 days of practice, EA, when you see progression like the offense had in the move the ball period, let's set the stage. Monday, the offense stonewalled by the defense, did not move the ball at all, didn't even get a first down. Yesterday, the first team offense goes down the field pretty smoothly, methodically, a long drive, doesn't get in the end zone, but still you see the progress. What does that tell you about this team at an early stage of camp? Because typically the defense has the upper hand early on.
Well, it's a great point by you. It was a couple plays on Monday, and then they were off the field. Yesterday we saw them move inside the 10. That was an 11-play drive that ultimately ended on a sack when Zach Wilson could not find anybody open inside the end zone. But you are shuffling different personnel in there. Remember that yesterday was the first time we saw George Fant get a couple team reps. Michael Carter did not participate in team activities, just dealing with a minor ankle injury right now. He's going to be fine, but I think all those experiences are going to help you. And again, you're going against the first team defense who pretty much set the tone the day before. So you wanted to see an answer, and we got an answer.
Also, Vinny Curry is another guy who did not practice yesterday, dealing with a minor hamstring injury. But let's actually head down to the field with Caroline for more on the heightened intensity of recent practices. Caroline, good morning.
Good morning, Ethan and EA. You guys are right. The field is very hot today. But like you were saying, Ethan, the intensity out here is just off the charts. I was talking to Michael Carter after practice on Monday, and he was saying with the pads on, it adds a completely new element. He said football is the ultimate show-me sport. So when you say you can do it, you have to come out there and show that you can do it. He was saying that for running backs specifically, you see them running through their routes all the way to the end zones, typically through practices. And he said they're doing that because they're simulating breaking those tackles in their minds. So by adding the pads, it's really coming all together for not only the running backs, but the team as a unit.
Awesome, Caroline. Great stuff. Caroline's got the pads on, or the reporter version with the jean jacket. Again, bold move. I respect it, though. You got to be boiling on the field, right?
I am. The jean jacket is to protect me from the sun, but let me tell you, I'm sweating out here.
Hey, Robert Saleh with his traditional long sleeves at training camp, he's even got those sleeves rolled up a little bit here as he talks to Chairman Robert Wood Johnson there on the field right now.
All right, so great stuff from Caroline. We'll hear from her later in the show. But let me tell you about Jets mini plans. This season, take advantage of the new ticket mini plans offerings. Lock in great lower level seats starting at just $120 per game. Catch 7 or 3 games at MetLife Stadium. Plus, receive exclusive benefits. For more information and to select your plan, visit nyjets.com/mini plans. All right, well, we talked about the pads coming on. You know that it's always trench warfare, Lake and Tomlinson's line. Well, with the offensive line, particularly getting the pads on, they can almost level the playing field because Robert Saleh said the defense might be able to have the upper hand with no pads on, right, as they're attacking upfield. Well, recent practices flipping to the right side at right tackle. 1 week ago from today, EA, we were talking about the competition at left tackle. Later that day, that was squashed. Robert Saleh said George Fant's on the left side, Mekhi Becton's on the right side. And then yesterday, Robert Saleh said Mekhi Becton is looking stronger and stronger each practice, and we saw that specifically in the run period.
Very impressed by what Robert Saleh said about Mekhi Becton yesterday following practice. Said, obviously, he moves. He has the feet of a small man, but he is a massive, massive man. And remember, this offense is predicated on winning in the trenches and establishing the run game. And I was watching a couple reps with our buddy Brian Baldinger from NFL Network, who does Jets content throughout the season. He said there were a couple plays, both him and I were noticing that Becton was taking out multiple defenders, and you can create great creases. And I love, Ethan, what this line is setting up to look like with the young guys on the right in the aforementioned Becton, flanked by right guard Elijah Vera-Tucker. And then on the left side, you got the big veterans and George Fant, who established himself last year at left tackle, and, of course, a Pro Bowler in Laken Tomlinson at left guard.
So what is Mekhi Becton, who you said, great point, Robert Saleh called him a transcendent player in the past, a special player. We obviously know about the size to athleticism dynamic here for the big ticket, but at full health, this offensive line, particularly in the run game, as you look at the right side with the young bucks and Elijah Vera-Tucker and Mekhi Becton, how does that change really the complexity of the offense and what the Jets would want to do, trying to establish that chemistry among all 5 of those guys, but the tenacity of running the ball down opponents' throats?
It'd be huge because when you evaluate the 2021 Jets, yes, they went to a youth movement. But with that being said, 2 of their key players who were forecasted for last season, Carl Lawson, Mekhi Becton. You bring Becton back, and he comes on the right side, and then you have on the left side a veteran tackle and George Fant. I just think that Becton, when he gets to the second level, he is scary. And again, he has the feet of a smaller man. He is a big-time athlete, and we talk about his commitment. He stayed here in Florham Park after mandatory minicamp. He worked with the trainers. He worked with the doctors, the nutritionists, and now he's in very good shape. One thing that stood out to me yesterday, too, and I know you would say the same thing, you didn't see Becton coming off the field for any reps during this heat.
Yeah, and that was something that maybe we saw early on in training camp. Robert Saleh said he was a little bit of a pitch count. He's a big guy, as I think that's pretty obvious at that point. But I think to what we were talking about earlier, these days right now in early August is what's going to prepare this team for October and a 17-game season. This is the first 17-game season that Mekhi Becton's been a part of, because last season, of course, he sustains the season-ending injury at Carolina Week 1. He didn't experience or endure the extra week. Now, granted, there's one less preseason game, but this offensive line, EA, bringing it back to Zach Wilson here, if the Jets can establish the run, especially early in the game, in any game, that only has to help Zach Wilson with the supporting cast around him, right?
Well, there's the rookie Max Mitchell, who's getting his feet wet here in the National Football League. He's got some swing tackle ability, and there's Big Becton right now, Highway 77, getting in some work. John Benton, well-respected offensive line coach, going over some technique stuff with the guys here early in practice on a Wednesday. But, yeah, listen, We talk about the offensive line, but how about these running backs? Those guys are really going to benefit from this line in Michael Carter. Breece Hall pops. He continues to pop throughout training camp. He made a hell of a catch that our own Frankie Lazar caught yesterday. Lazar not only got that shot, but he also got the shot of Eli Moore making the one-handed grab as well. But these guys, the running backs, I think are going to really like running behind this line because you have mass, and it's not just mass. They're just not big guys. They're big guys who thrive with movement. And Becton people, I think they miscast him and say he's just a huge guy, can't move. No, he's a great mover.
And I also think that one of those guys, George Fant, we haven't seen a whole lot in team periods, obviously. Only took a couple snaps yesterday. That was his first team period action since training camp opened. But it's something to keep in mind. Take a look at George Fant's last season at left tackle. One of the better left tackles in the NFL. And NFL Network has you covered with insider access across all 32 teams. All-day coverage continues this week inside training camp, only on NFL Network. Taking a look at the McGovern crop top. You a fan or what?
Well, yeah, it works for him. Everybody's got to be you, right?
Listen, it's hot. I understand. And, you know, in terms of positions that thrive with the pads on versus, you know, some maybe not thriving as much with the pads off, or you can't do your job to the fullest. How about the linebackers right there? Taking a look at C.J. Mosley, and the Jets added another Alabama linebacker. When you have C.J. Mosley from Mobile, they have Quincy Williams from Birmingham, Alabama, and then they add Quan Alexander. Happy birthday, Quan, nicknamed now K9. K, and then the 9 jersey that he's wearing, he's from Oxford, Alabama. So you got the Alabama trio rocking and rolling.
He brings the dog out there. I would say, listen, you look at the middle of a team, and you really like where the Jets are at because you have the center in Connor McGovern. You have a very talented young player at quarterback, Zach Wilson, who's through that rookie year in year 2. You have the Mike linebacker, number 57, C.J. Mosley, who remains one of the top linebackers in the National Football League. Quan Alexander was the guy who popped early. He had 3.5 sacks last year with the Saints coming back from injury. First day of practice, he makes a couple plays, and all of a sudden he's drawn to the offensive guys. So he brings an attitude, a mentality that he's going to get after you. I think that was a nice pickup for Joe Douglas.
I definitely think so. I feel like Quan Alexander, you didn't hear a whole lot, maybe national media-wise last season, but to your point, he started 8 games for the Saints last year, career-high 3.5 sacks. He was on pace for a career-high tackles for loss, and he tied a career-high in terms of quarterback hits. So this is a guy that seemingly had a good season in New Orleans. He said he was between New Orleans, the Giants, and the Jets. He ends up coming here with the system familiarity. Another veteran, much like Marcel Harris, who's been with the Jets throughout the spring, that adds veteran presence, system familiarity, and could be a big-time contributor for this defense in addition to the depth.
Position flex, right? Because Salah said, hey, he can line up and strong. He can line up at the will as well. You know, oftentimes you're going to be playing 2 linebackers out here depending on the offense's formation where you're in nickel and dime packages and things like that. But you need linebacker depth, and this is a guy who does bring the familiarity, and he also brings an attitude and juice that Jeff Albrick loves.
Yeah, I definitely think so. And you take a look at Quincy Williams. It's hard to see his number. He's right next to Jermaine Johnson, 5'6". We spoke to him earlier in the spring, and he said that he was gearing a little less for the big tackle and gearing up a little bit more towards the big play. That's the progression for that guy right there. A fantastic waiver claim for Joe Douglas last year. Ends up with over 100 tackles. I mean, when you think about what he did last year in a shortened time to learn the playbook and everything like that, what kind of expectations do you think are reasonable for Quincy Williams in year 2, and knowing that he could play much faster this season?
Yeah, super athlete. You know, pairing him up with Mosley, I think, really helped his career. As far as tackle numbers, I'm not really eyeing those. I'm thinking to an interview that you did with him in the spring that he said, hey, I'm not necessarily going to be looking for the big hit all the time because I want to take the football away. The next step for this Jets defense, yes, they got to stop the run, but they also have to take the ball away. Last year, just 14 takeaways. He is a guy who has the potential to knock the ball out because he's one of the most forceful hitters in the National Football League. small in terms of height, but he packs a punch, and he's explosive.
And he's another guy, converted safety to linebacker. Talk about guys more familiar with the Jets. The Florham Strangler. I mean, this is Jamie and Sherwood. That's an interesting nickname.
Florham Park Strangler.
The Florham Park Strangler. All right, it's still a great nickname. Hamza Nasruddin, another former college safety transitioning to linebacker.
Yep.
The latest of the bunch, Kai Nakua, BYU product. Safety last year with the Jets, transitioning now to linebacker, number 46 in green.
He flies around out there.
Yeah, he does. He plays with his hair on fire. But let's talk about this tight ends group, because for that guy, Zach Wilson, and Joe Flacco, and Mike White, and Chris Streveler, but particularly Zach Wilson, the tight ends have been the security blanket just consistently throughout practice so far in the spring, with the additions of C.J. Uzomah and Tyler Conklin. Specifically, Tyler Conklin feels like he's been everywhere for Zach Wilson going back to OTAs.
I don't know. Do we need a siren? I mean, this is an unproduced live show here on Saturday. It will be produced, but do we need a siren in terms of Tyler Conklin? Because here's a fantasy alert for you.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah. I was wondering where you were going with that. But, yes, absolutely.
From what we've seen out here.
Definitely.
And how many
agree.
times he's been targeted and how many times he's come up with the ball, he's going to catch a lot of passes in this offense.
And also, I feel like before free agency nationally, when the Jets signed C.J. Uzomah has a boisterous personality. We've seen that. I feel like that move got a lot of love. Then the Jets add Tyler Conklin. But Tyler Conklin, statistically, last season had a better year than C.J. Uzomah. 61 catches, 593 yards, and 3 touchdowns. And C.J. Uzomah right behind him, 49 catches for almost 500 yards and 5 scores. So, to your point, both of these guys, I think, are going to be incorporated in this offense. And both of these guys, you talked about scheme versatility with the linebackers. I think it's the same thing with these guys. They get after it in the run game. They're very good in the pass game. And they could be the security blankets that hasn't really existed for Zach Wilson last year in terms of the tight ends.
It changes the dynamic. Quincy Williams mentioned it as far as dropping the ball off to the running backs. And we've talked about the receiving prowess of these running backs. But these tight ends, I think, can really help Zach Wilson take that next step that everybody's looking for, because yes, the Jets have explosion on the outside and a really fun, electrifying young group, but the veteran tight ends are just going to provide that security blanket that you want. And we've seen in this offense what kind of damage a tight end can do. And a nice pairing here between these two. We're still waiting for Jeremy Rucker to get back on the field. He's been doing a lot of stuff on the side so far here early in camp.
That's right. Listen, if you want to see these guys, the annual green and white practice is back at MetLife Stadium Saturday, August 6th. That is this Saturday in a couple days. Join the team under the lights for a night full of football, family, and fun. You can download your free mobile tickets today at nyjets.com/camp. The green and white scrimmage is supported by Atlantic Health System, JetBlue, and MetLife. Let's go back down to the field. Caroline Hendershot with a special guest, and Richie Driss.
Here with Richie Driss. He is a BBC television host in the UK, helping spread the Jets fandom in the UK. Richie, it's your first time at the Jets facility. What was it like?
I mean, just take a look around. It's exceptional. I was comparing it to sort of Premier League football facilities similarly, and this is above and beyond anything I've seen before. I say that like I get access to those facilities. I don't. It's incredible here.
You got to meet some of the players yesterday. What did you do with them? And I got to ask, who was your favorite coming off all your interactions yesterday?
I mean, it's difficult to pick a favorite because they were all incredible. Mike Carter and me created our very own handshake that I do still remember. And Mike White showed me how to throw I nearly called it a spin pass, a spiral pass. And his teaching was so good because I got it on a 3rd attempt. So yeah, those two were brilliant.
Now you have a whole nother day in store for you. What's on the agenda, and what are you most looking forward to?
So far I've sort of been walking into sort of all of the challenges that I've taken on fairly sort of blind, like the spiral passes, for example. But today I'm doing a punt challenge where, using a machine, ball is going to be punted straight up into the air, and I'm going to be under it to catch it. Now, when I played sport, I played soccer as a goalkeeper, which means I should be able to catch a ball. So I feel like the pressure is on me today to catch enough of them anyway, but we'll see. That's with Braxton Berrios.
How many do you think you'll be able to catch?
I am going to go, so what I'll do is I'll set myself the target of 7 out of 10.
Okay. Okay.
Oh no, what have I done? It's on tape now.
It's on tape. Yeah. Now it's in. You're speaking it into a fruition.
Yeah.
Who are you setting your sights on for practice today when you're watching?
Do you know what? As my first sort of experience of all of this, I want to take in as many different positions as possible to try and find out what makes a linebacker versus a wide receiver versus a quarterback. Try and get as much knowledge on all the different positions as possible, and just take in as much as I can, really.
Awesome, Richie. Thanks so much for the time.
Thank you. Pleasure.
All right, Richie, thank you. Thank you, Caroline. So let me ask you this, just going off of what Richie said. He thinks he's going to get 7 out of 10 punts. That's got to be a little ambitious for someone who learned how to throw a spiral yesterday, right?
Yo, shout out to the Jets fans in the UK, right?
Yeah, oh yeah, big time. Got to show love across the pond.
And shout out to Richie. I mean, he's here doing secret handshakes with dudes, doing punt challenges, throwing the spiral pass. I love this guy.
I loved how he said he almost called it the spin pass. Yeah, you got to respect that. But wait, speaking of the special teamers, though,
yes,
let's talk about the two guys flanking Braden Mann in the middle here, Eddie Pinero and Greg Zuerlein. This is a training camp competition, but right now as it stands, Greg Zuerlein has connected probably a higher statistical in terms of field goal percentages, right? But you'll know this, you've been doing this much longer than I have. It all comes down to what you can do under the lights.
Wow, listen, I'm just going to take the advice of the man who's going to be weighing heavily as far as this decision in terms of who's the kicker on opening day, Brant Boyer. He said, yeah, practice is important, but you got to take these guys and see what they do during games. Pinero was great last year, 8 of 8. He had 1 extra point blocked, and Zuerlein has one of the biggest legs in the National Football League. His numbers from 50 plus. He's about a 55%, 56% guy. All as far as his career is concerned, and last year his touchbacks numbers were off the chart.
Yeah, I think that's really. I think when you think of a kicker, you think of the strong legs. Greg the Leg is Greg Zuerlein's nickname. The touchback capabilities for Greg Zuerlein, that might be a real asset, not only for Brant Boyer if he elects to go that route and the Jets end up with Greg Zuerlein as the kicker, but really across the league, if that's something that a special teams coordinator values, eliminating the return aspect of an opposing team, that is a big-time weapon. And you mentioned his numbers last year. Greg Zuerlein connected on 82.9% of his field goals last year with a long of 56. This is a guy who's connected over 60 twice, 60 and 61 yards. So this is a seasoned veteran, and Eddie Pinero, he's a guy that feels like, remember he was hurt 2 years ago, so how much of his leg strength did he have in terms of, was it 100%?
No,
was it a little less?
No, it's a great point. Boyer said it wasn't 100% last year. Now he's come back and he is healthy, so he will have the extended distance on the kickoffs. These are both NFL kickers, so the Jets are in good position here.
And Brant Boyer, you know, is itching to solve the kicker problem that has existed pretty much since Jason Myers walked out of the door after the 2018 season, right?
Well, Randy Lang, our great statistician and historian here with the Jets, said that whoever wins this job, it's going to be the 7th different opening day kicker in the last 7 years.
Yeah, all right. Well, that says all you need to know about the New York Jets here in terms of the kicker position. Real quick, let's just sneak something in right now. Defensive line, EA, you and I were talking about it. This is the position to watch in training camp, and Robert Saleh kind of alluded to it earlier. There will be really good football players who will be let go of this team, probably coming from this room right here.
Is this Lawson right here lining up on the left-hand side to our screen right now? I think it might be Carl Lawson.
It is.
Aaron Whitecotton, you know, encouraging these guys, going over some sled work right now. Yeah, this team is exceptionally deep at the defensive line position. Now, you're not going to say they have a Nick Bosa like they do in San Francisco or have in San Francisco, but in terms of coming at you at waves and what Robert Saleh wants to do, this team has it. And with Lawson back potentially this year, your front line is going to be really good. And then you're going to have the ability to come at you with the reserves, so to speak. And everybody's going to be fresh. So by the time you're in the fourth quarter and it's a close game. The Jets are going to be teeing off on opposing quarterbacks. The only bad part here is they're going to have to cut some good players.
Yeah, but it's a good problem to have. It is a problem you want to have this time of year for all 32 NFL teams. It is a problem that the New York Jets currently have, a good one at that. And that's all we have for today, EA. So, again, make sure to go to MetLife Saturday night for the annual green and white practice. You got to stay hydrated if you're going outside. Make sure to bring your friends, your family, and we will see you Saturday at MetLife Stadium.